and watch us where we go, and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe. I pray we'll find your light, we'll be safe. I pray we'll find your light and hold it in our hearts. When stars go out each night, let this be our prayer. When shadows fill our day,
lead us to a place,
guide us with your grace,
give us faith so we'll be safe. Simba olam shalom tova uvracha, olam emet shalom mishpat v'tzedek, verachamim al kol bnei britecha, ben goyei haolam shalom vereut. Oy avarachamim,
we ask that life be kind
rachem aleinu,
and watch us from above.
again badeinu,
We hope each soul will find
v'nefesh kol chai.
another soul to love. Let this be our prayer. Let this be our prayer.
Just like every child,
Just like every child needs to find a place, guide us with your grace, give us faith so we'll be safe. Ani ma'amim b'emu.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is good to be with you. I am joined on the bima by Arieh Davidoff. I think it's been about now, we're marking a celebration, an anniversary actually, of almost a year when we co-led services together in the absence of our beloved Cantor, who is, we know, earning a very deserved vacation with his Besheret Rabin. And we're so delighted to be with you from the blessings of our sanctuary and joined, we know, by many of you near and far, wide, from the sanctuaries of our homes. There are so many reasons, good reasons, to come together on Shabbat. A time for renewal, a time for reflection, a time for rest. But so too always we come together in a world where we sometimes feel disconnected from our neighbors, disconnected, we sometimes even feel from reality, disconnected from a sense of who we are as a people, who we are as a country, who we are as vessels of the divine, bestowing goodness and kindness and righteousness in our world. On days such as today, when some of our inalienable rights are being besieged, how good it is to be coming together, brothers and sisters alike, joined together, reminded of the sacred vows, responsibilities, and obligations that hold us together. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad, on page 10, how good and pleasant it is, brothers and sisters, that we come together in our beloved sanctuary of Solel, in our family of Solel, as we live, pray, and dwell together.
הנה מה טובו מנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טובו מנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. Ya la 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 la. הנה מה טובו מנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טובו מנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
As I experienced this day, as I knew that this day, I felt this day was coming, I thought, of course, of all of the women in my life, but most of all, one very precious woman, my daughter, Plost. And so it's my pleasure to call her forward, as she is the light of my family and our future, and the light that represents the future generations that will carry us forward through whatever dark times may lie ahead. On page 3, as these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As the brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, with all of our children, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
On page 8, I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner resolve, my strength, my resilience, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love even those with whom I disagree. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created, and then for us to be partners with the divine to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy and righteousness and justice that illumine all of us, and then to do the sacred work to bring that vision to life. Let us pray together at the bottom of page 9. Together, we offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love, we offer thanks and blessings, O God. As much as I love the ritual of Shabbat, the lighting of candles, the singing of songs, the eating of special foods, of challah, of being together as a people, of that special warmth, of intimacy, of glow, that we feel that brings us a sense of joy and happiness on Shabbat. Not only Shabbat, but on the holidays, not only our rituals, not only our sacred inheritance of a wonderful language, not even the understanding of the rhythms of life of being Jewish, not even an attachment to the land of Israel and her people. All of this is, of course, so cherished to me and to each and every one of us. And as we approach the prayer of Lecha Dodi, as we recognize ourselves as being in bonds, deep bonds, devoted bonds with the divine, as we invite in the Sabbath bride, as we invite in God as that intimate partner to us, we hold most meaningful, most sacred, most significant our responsibility as Jews to support those who have been left behind, to support those who come from marginalized communities, to do the prophetic work of being God's partner on this Shabbat and at all and every time that we come together as Jews. And so, we approach our Lecha Dodi with that extra special sense of joy, but also awesome sense of responsibility, of devoted partners forever with the divine inheritance of a promise of a better tomorrow. Lecha Dodi, page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shemor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשפל תפארת ולתהילה. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habaracha, merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof maaseh b'machshavit tichla. Lecha Dodi Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orechu mi'ori, uri, uri, sheri be'iri. Kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, גם בשמחה וצהולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. Lecha Dodi לחדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
As we invite in ever more fully a sense of peace in our world, as we praise peace to each and every one of us, to all those who are worried and full of anxiety and trepidation, peace in our homes, peace in our lives, peace in our community, peace in our families, peace in our world. Shalom Aleichem, peace to each and every one of us, page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem LaShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzetzchem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Bimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
On page 29, there is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself or herself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself or himself and sings the song of her and his people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. And so, as one people, we rise as we lift our voices in song, our prayers carried on the wings of our angels. The Baruch Hu, our call to worship, page 28.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai.
Baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim, bless the Lord our God, who brings on our evening. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael, bless the Lord our God, who loves the people Israel and all people. As we continue to praise our faith that gives us love, our faith that bears witness to all that is true in this world, this faith that will endure and be passed on generation to generation. Our Shema, as we listen to the calls before us, among us, between us, and beyond us. Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדון אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. As we turn to page 43, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. That we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haparas sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. So we continue to praise the Sabbath, V'shamru, at the top of page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורת וברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורת וברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורת וברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורת וברית עולם.
Let us rise for our prayer of our ancestors, the prayer that asks us to be a chain of connection, lador vador, that leads us from our ancient ancestors to our grandparents, to our parents, to all those who struggled to move us forward, that we may claim that same sense of responsibility and pass it on to our children, to the next generation. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנת לך חיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed Adonai, the holy God, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el, HaKadosh. Friends, please be seated. At the bottom of page 55, disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, the poverty, the physical and spiritual of humans. Shock us, Adonai, deny us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred and bigotry and xenophobia and misogynism. Wake us, O God, in shake-ups from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of this sanctuary will never be the border of living, and the walls of your temples, of Temple Solel, of all our Reformed temples, of all of our allies in faith communities that share our vision of an inclusive, loving, compassionate world. These are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. O you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds our minds, we look inward for the answer to our prayers, and there may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha bira na'avod. As we turn the page, Modim anachnu lach, shatahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elhei avotenu v'imotenu lam va'ed, tzur chayinu magen ishenu atahu lador vador. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and our God of our ancestors forever. You're the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed Adonai, your name is goodness, and you're worthy of our thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, l'cha na'eh, l'hodot. As we continue, let us together share a prayer of peace at the top of page 61. Please join with me. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise to you, Eternal One, who blesses our people and all people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech atamo Yisrael, Bashalom. Let us take a few moments of silent prayer and private reflection, guiding language that may be found throughout our prayer books, whichever prayers may spring from our hearts.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. 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 יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
As we make our way in our service, we pause for a few moments to embrace those in need of prayers of healing of body, mind, and spirit. As my eyes meet yours, please share aloud with our sacred community those in need of such support on this Shabbat Eve. Cecile Plost. To these names we also offer Sheila Anderson, Ann Becker, Howard Dorfman, Jenny Feldman, Harriet Feltman, Seth Gelwasser, Don Gustin, Don Harvey, Larry Jurist, Hannah Cates, Don Lesney, Phyllis Lewis, Harry Mendel, Charles Messing, Sharon Metzner, Lori Miller, Joyce Milmed, Louis Montiel, Steve Perla, Andre Peterson, Elwood Powers, Diana Ramos, Gabrielle Rosenthal, Molly Salsitz, Harry Smith, Larry Smith, Emmy Sponseller, Leonard Standards, Ray Strauss, Phyllis Thurman, Charlie Wolf, and Martin Zoffman. Our prayer of healing may be found on Misher Barach on page 253.
Misher Barach Avotenu Mekor HaBaracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misher Barach Imotenu Mekor HaBaracha Leavotenu. Blessed in need of healing, with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I don't know if this is a little bit hard to visualize, but when I was in Israel at the age of 13, I had a bar mitzvah here in the States and then one at the Kotel in Jerusalem. And I wanted to mark being there that day, not only with the memory of it, not only with the treasure of being surrounded with family and friends, but I wanted to actually have something tangible, something I could touch that reminded me of that day. And so I remember going that day to one of the stores, there are so many in Jerusalem, and I bought, with some money that I'd saved up, a gold chai. And I don't think I'm alone in this, but a chai, by the way, represents the number 18, as many of us know in Judaism, and also represents the word life. Some people decide to wear Magen David, some will wear other jewelry, but I bet I'm not alone in this congregation or in our families of somebody who chose to wear a chai around their neck. And not only did I wear it just on any occasion, any special occasion, I wore it every single day. I even wore it as a swimmer during every single swim practice. And I'd get all these interesting comments. Of course, Jews would know what it was. Others would say, oh, you really like elephants. Looks like an elephant. And then there were the conservatives who says, oh, you're a Republican. And I wore it with a lot of pride and fidelity. And it reminded me always of this special attachment that I had around my neck. I think I stopped wearing it at one point because the chain, when you're swimming, every second matters. So I started taking off the chain for the 0.05 tenths of a second or whatever for the sprint freestyles. And then there was the time also I remember where the chain came off and the chai was at the bottom of the pool and they had to stop the whole swim meet for at least 10 minutes while they searched for the chain. So for better or not, I did wear it with a lot of fidelity, but it meant so much to me because I felt, yes, it was an expression of my Judaism. Yes, it was an expression of that time of my bar mitzvah, but it was also a prime and proud reflection of my value as a Jew, that we hold life, the value of life, the meaning of life, each and every day and each and every moment to be special. And that's hard. That's hard. We There's a lot of challenges in life. We tend to get down, or frustrations, disappointments, and it takes a reminder that just to be alive, just to have this miraculous gift of being alive, is a miracle, is a wonder, is something to really seek to replenish our souls with every day and every minute. And so wearing that chai whenever I was down, or for whatever reason, it reminded me, no, move forward. You've got this. You got a life to live, and it's not just a life tomorrow, but a life right here and now. And I think that we as Jews, we eke out that every little ounce of life. So, of course, one would think that in a time where there is the virtue of life being lifted up in every single moment, literally the banner is pro-life, right? Pro-chai. That Jews would be on the side of those who would be opposed to abortion, right? Those who we hold such a high sacred value of life. And it's not that we take the growth of life unseriously. It's not that we believe that we don't put extra emphasis in the care and protection and welfare of bringing a fetus to its full term. In fact, we put a lot of energy in that. For any Jewish mother and anybody as part of a Jewish family knows that is a extra special mitzvah to be able to bring new life into this world. But yet our tradition teaches that very clearly, and this is not some new age, postmodern, post-enlightenment ideal. This is a timeless understanding from the beginnings of Jewish law itself, and even from the Torah, that a fetus is not equivalent to a person. A fetus is not a person. And it even says that if someone were to slay somebody who was carrying a fetus, that a woman that was carrying a fetus, that would be equivalent in killing the mother as punishable by death. But that someone that led to not the death of the mother, or not the harm of the mother, but just led to the miscarriage, that this would be equivalent to requiring some form of significant remuneration or restitution to the mother or to the family. That these are not equivalent. The life of the mother and the life of the fetus are not the same. Even more so, our commentators teach us that if a mother's life is endangered, that it is incumbent upon us, if need be, to rip, and I mean this literally, to rip the fetus apart limb by limb, if necessary, with that expression of that exact language from our ancient commentators, in order to save the woman. So there can be no doubt or no shades of gray that certainly we take life extremely sacred, extremely seriously, and even those who are most vulnerable. But to equate a fetus with a person is not to dignify our own tradition, our own inheritance of what truly life is all about. When we do not accurately or fully express the values of our tradition, we actually lessen it and weaken it in its core value in our lives. So the question is, I think that's before us, or what I would like to consider on this Shabbat, on this day, is what moment are we in, and what perhaps lies before us, and what can our Torah offer to us to guide us in a dark, difficult day such as this? Well, we might believe that the pre-Roe era, I wasn't alive for that, by the way. It's even impossible, truly, for me to grasp what it is to live in a pro-Roe era, let alone my children. But certainly, we know there was a time when there was back alley abortions. And we know that it was framed in such a way that women were imperiled by predatory doctors or others who would make abortions possible. And certainly we are going back to that. But even more so, what frightens me, what worries me, what ought to worry, I believe, perhaps any good conscience-bearing American, certainly any faithful American, that what we are seeing is not just an assault on those who are seeking abortion and reproductive rights, but an assault on women themselves, the criminalization of half of our country. Because now what will happen is any woman living in an area where abortion is illegal, to seek out an abortion will be the equivalent of curtailing the civil liberties as equivalent to those that are preserved in the 14th Amendment. That women who even have a miscarriage because they've taken a drug during a pregnancy that has led to a miscarriage, that action will be criminal. Or if one would seek to have an abortion in a state other than the one in which you live, that to do so, to take that step, will be criminalized. Women, as a category, every action, every step that they take will not only insofar as bringing a baby to term be seen as a curtailment of their inalienable rights over their bodies, but more so even that their very act of choosing how to live, choosing how to protect and preserve themselves, even the drugs that they take, all of this will be under scrutiny and it will be uncertain. You won't even know what I am doing. Is it criminal or is it not? Can you believe living in such a world? This was not the pre-Roe era, this criminalization of women in this way. But this is, unfortunately, where we very well may be headed. So what does the, perhaps, Torah offer to us as maybe a beacon of hope? We are in a section of Torah where we are on the precipice of new opportunity, of settling into the new land, into the promised land. And spies are sent out to seek out whether or not the land is good, whether it has good resources, whether the people live are good. And 10 of the spies came back, and they came back with a negative report, but 2 came back with a positive report. And of course, you know these 2, Joshua and Caleb. And it's very interesting because they don't come back with the same form of the positive report. Caleb immediately says, yes, I've heard what the spies have had to say. I've been listening to this for 40 days. You can imagine that they've been challenging him, and he's been at the forefront and saying, what are you talking about? The land is full of milk and honey. We have God on our side. We can settle it. We can seize the day. We need not be afraid of their fortifications or the strength or size of the people that live there. We do not need to see ourselves as weak or meek or as grasshoppers to ourselves or in their eyes, that we can seize it, we can move forward. And through all of that time, Joshua, no less, Joshua, the appointed leader we are come to learn of by Moses, is quiet. Joshua says nothing. And then we hear it. The spies say to Moses, and the people begin to cry, "This promised land, oh no, let's go back to Egypt." And at that moment, Joshua has a change of heart. All this time, he's thinking to these people, about these people, gosh, they're so negative. Or, how can this be? We've been led by the Lord from bondage through the wilderness to the promised land. We've overcome adversity and challenge. We've had miracles bestowed upon us. We've been given the sustenance of life provided from the sky, led by the light of the divine to this place. And yet these people still see only adversity before us. These people are never going to be able to accomplish anything. They don't deserve to be in it. And then that moment happens where the people say, "Let's go back." And then and only then does Joshua then say, "We must move forward." Here we are, friends, in the state of Florida, the third most populous state in America. And there are those among us, the Calebs among us, who have said time and time again, we must press forward. We must continue to lift up our rights. We must continue to lift up our liberties. We know it's hard. We know it's difficult. We've seen dark days before, but we must press on. Look at the amazing opportunities, the blessings of this great state and her people. But then there are those who have lost a sense of hope and faith, that it's just too daunting. It's just too hard. And I've been down this road before. I've given. I've sacrificed. Why? Why try again? My life hasn't gotten any better. My life hasn't improved. I'm in that 1%. Nope, I'm in that 99%. Why try again? Florida is an important state not only because she is the third most populous state, but also because she borders two other states where, folks, people can't really get abortions. There were 50, how many? I have the number here somewhere. There were 5,000 abortions last year, not by Floridians, but 5,000 abortions by those who came from bordering states to seek sanctuary and reprieve and health and well-being and dignity here in Florida, because we have 55 centers here in Florida that provided that sanctuary, that support, and there were 79,000 women last year from Florida who were able to get an abortion. So it's not just a reckoning of our state and her people. It's also a reckoning of what we provide to those who are nearby. Now, Ron DeSantis has already declared that he's going to press forward to make sure that, yes, that women that bring life to term will certainly, he hopes to be able to provide adoption services for those women and provide early childhood care and all that, and that's wonderful. That's great. Those women need that support. However, he has also said that he is seeking other opportunities to curtail and limit abortions. And would you not know that just recently there's been an attempt, in fact, a signing into the law of moving the goalpost from 24 weeks to 15 weeks to have a legal abortion here in Florida. And the only thing preserving that right has been what? The court. And so now, after this decision, Those who think that if Florida will be the same tomorrow as it was yesterday might wish to look at how a court would examine the precedent in a conservative era of a conservative court. So, my friends, I ask you, where is the dawn? Where is the hope? I actually see this perhaps as a moment of opportunity. Why? Because when you register to vote, when you think about what is important to you, what matters to you today, ultimately the question is not only what is the best opportunity that we have for all of us to live in a loving, compassionate society of rights to all, but a question that may be near and dear to so many Floridians. The question that Joshua asked, even having lost hope in his neighbors, even having lost hope with those with whom he disagrees, even having lost hope to seek out remedy and support. The question is, am I willing to go back? Am I willing to go back for myself and for my children and my children's children? Friends, are we going back? I asked you, are we going back? Are we going back? Ken Hiratson. May we live with the courage, the endurance, and the determination of Joshua. We're not going back, my friends. We're going to seize the day. Ken Hiratson. May it be God's will. Let us rise for the adoration, page 282. Just sing. You're loud enough.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Friends, please be seated. On page 287, may we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו
Let us turn to a mournful meditation on page 290. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love, what death has touched. On this Shabbat Eve, we think especially of those who have been taken recently from us, Bonnie, Kate, Raynor, the cousin of Lanny, and Linda Altshore. We also remember those who have been taken from us in this season and years beforehand. Albert Alspector, Herbert Alspector, Albert Bergman, Meyer Berkowitz, Betty Bernstein, Frank Bosofsky, David Cohen, Sanford Davis, Sophie Edelstein, Herbert Eisenberg, Miriam Elizen, Isaac Filer, Gail Feinstein, Bella Fisher, Michael Fuchs, Ralph Goldberg, Sam Goldman, Florence Gordon, Alvin Himes, Morris Hurwitz, Louis Joblove, Jean Katzen, Joseph Karlik, Sophie Kravitz, Louise Krupnick, David Lasker, Cynthia Libman, Morris Lightman, Louis Littman, Barney Malloy, Adolf Makarski, Ruth McCullough, Mark Myers, Hyman Nahamkin, Joseph Panzer, Albert Rolter, Erica Rose, Beatrice Rosenberg, Ellis Rosenthal, Joseph Rothman, David Sawyer, Sylvia Schoenemaker, Helen Sepler, Leah Sugarman, Jerome Taft, Harry Weiner, Jacob Weishout, Mildred Wise, Molly Willico, and Joel Yonner. Are there any corrections or additions to our mourners list for this Shabbat Eve? Would all those mourners who are present please rise? And I'd ask the rest of the congregation to please rise. Our mourners' Kaddish may be found on page 294. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah v'varach le'olam umei amayah. Yiparach, yishtabach, v'pa'ar, v'tramam, v'naseh. Vitadar, Vitaleh, Vitalal, Shmei Dekudesha, Brichu. Leilam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiram be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mirmav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol Yishvei tevel, v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn, to which we offer. Amen. Please be seated. A few words of announcement from our past president, David Topping.
To our congregants and friends, whether here in our sacred space or virtually, we welcome you to Shabbat Services at Temple Solel. Please join Rabbi Plost tomorrow morning at 9:30 for Torah study. If you have not attended before, I think you'll be rewarded by the interaction among the students and the wealth of knowledge being shared, so please join us. And we will be back here next Friday, July 1st at 7:30 for Shabbat Services with Rabbi Plost. Thank you to Sue Meinstein Zucker Oro for sponsoring tonight's Oneg Shabbat in honor of her very own special birthday. We wish you the very best of health and happiness, and thank you for the lovely Oneg, the Bima flowers as well. If you're interested in sponsoring an Oneg here at the temple, please find me after services, and those who attend remotely, please contact the temple office and leave a message for me through Anita. As we're entering the summer months, we realize that the high holidays will be fast approaching, so please keep an eye out for correspondence in your regular mail regarding our annual Book of Life Cycles and other important information. And please do not hesitate to call the temple office with any questions that you may have. And also, please read the Pathfinder and review the list of the volunteer-led committees of Temple Solel. We would love for each of you to become involved in one or more of them. It's a great way to increase the connection you have with your synagogue. This month, Ronald Lauder, the son of Estee Lauder and the president of the World Jewish Congress, received the Legion of Honor Award from French President Emmanuel Macron for his services to the world's communities and his vision of peace in the world. President Macron cited Ambassador Lauder's commitment to fighting all forms of hatred and discrimination, as well as his investment in the education of future generations. Boy, that seems pretty important today. Other recipients of the Legion of Honor Award include Elie Wiesel, Samuel Pizar, who happens to be the stepfather of Secretary of State Blinken, Mark Chagall, who keeps on coming up on Shabbats, and Barbara Streisand. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Let us rise as we consecrate our Shabbat with the joy of Kiddush. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'natzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho b'ahavav ratzon hinchilanu. Zikon l'maaseh Bereshit, ki hu yom techila k'rai kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, notanu ki dashta, mikol ha'amim. Shabbat kodecha yava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. Chaim. Before I offer the blessing over Challah, I'd just like to say how much I really enjoy always being together with you, Arieh, and I think the congregation would all agree that we are always lifted up when the two Aries are together.
Thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Last year, you were a great person to lead services with, and a year later now, you're also a good friend. Let us conclude our service with Adon Olam.
Can I have it after?
Yeah, sure.
Eating challah right before singing is not the best. Adon Olam Asher Malach בטרם כל יציר ניבה, לית נעשה וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוזי ביום פגרה, בידו אף כי רוחי, בתישן ואירה, ועם רוחי גווייתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא.
Adonai li v'lo ira, God is with me and I shall not fear. On a day of some disappointment and discouragement, let us take strength from the opportunity of seizing the promised land. Let us live by the virtue of Caleb, decrying aloud, as we always have, that it is time to seize the land, but also let us waken all the souls of those who live in our beloved state of Florida. Let them hear the cry of righteousness, of truth, and of justice. Let us not move backwards, but forwards. Kadima. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yashikoah. Thank you. That was awesome. You hit just the right note.
מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו.